Hey there, Mr. Biggers here, and today we are continuing on with our probability module. So today we're going to talk about probability with permutations and combinations. Today we're just going to really focus on permutations, and day 2 is going to focus more on combinations. So a permutation is an arrangement of objects in which an order is important. One permutation for shuffling songs on a 7-track playlist would be track 5, track 7, track 1, track 2, track 6, track 4, and track 3, whatever. Okay, so using the fundamental counting principle, there are so many possible playlists. Okay, so how do you know? Because there's 7 tracks, okay? So your first one that you choose, track 5, there's 7 possibilities. Times, okay, well, we picked 1, so now there's 6 left. Times 5 left, times 4. So you see, you keep on going down, okay? So out of this 7-track playlist, there would be 5,040 possible playlists using the fundamental counting principle, okay? This is also, the expression can be used to calculate the number of permutations, written as 7 factorial, okay? So 7 exclamation point is 7 factorial. So in other words, 7 with an exclamation point is equal to 7 times 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 and times 1. There's a button in your calculator that can do this for you, which is great. Okay, so we're going to be learning about these permutations here. So a factorial of a positive integer n is the product of the positive integers less than or equal to n and is written as n factorial. Okay. So that's why we go down from like 7, it's 6, 5, 4. So it's less than or equal to n. Okay, and so this is the actual formula. Now, you don't have to remember this because on your calculator, you actually have a button. So if you hit this probability button, it's going to open up this menu here. And if you look at option number 3, you have a factorial button. So what you would do in your calculator is you would type in whatever number, say you're doing 6, and then you would hit the factorial button. And then it would calculate whatever that number is for you. Okay, matter of fact, I'm going to do it now. So I'm typing in 6 on my calculator, then I'm hitting that probability button, and then I'm doing option 3 for the factorial. Enter, there would be 720. Okay, so that's a permutation of an option where say the playlist had 6 tracks that you could choose from. So suppose you will only listen to 4 of the 7 shuffled tracks. Using the fundamental counting principle, the number of permutations of 4 tracks played from a 7-track playlist is 840. So the other way to do this is to use another function that's in your calculator. And I have to test this out really quick before I explain this because I want to make sure that it works for us. Yes. Okay. So another way of describing this situation is that this number of permutations of 7 tracks taken at 4 at a time is denoted by this. Okay, so you're going to see this all the time with permutations. So N, P, and R. Okay, so the easy way to think of this is N is the number of total possibilities that you have. P is you're picking how many. Okay, so in this scenario, we have 7 tracks. We are picking 4. So in your calculator, if you do, so what you would have to start out with is you have to start out with 7. Then you go in this menu and you hit NPR. So probability, so I'm doing this now in my calculator. 7, probability, NPR, and then you can type in 4 because there's 4 options here. Okay, that's going to get you 840 if you type that in. Okay, which is the actual answer here. So permutations, the number of permutations of n distinct objects taken r at a time is denoted by n, p, and r. And there's a button for that on your calculator, and I believe you can Google a permutation calculator online to be able to do that at home as well. If you want to do it by hand, this is how you do it. You can see here they took the 7 factorial on the top. And then what it does on the bottom is it takes the 7 that you have minus the 4, and then it takes the factorial of that. So really it's a factorial of 3. So if you want to, you can work that out. You'll see here what they did was the 3, 2, 1, since it's the same on the bottom and the top, cancels out. And so the 840 was based off the 7 times 6 times 5 times 4. Okay, so that is permutations. It sounds kind of funky, but we're going to do some examples and hopefully it makes more sense. There's also some great videos down below on this assignment on Canvas that explain this stuff really, really well. So for this example, they want us to look at probability with permutations, okay? So Taisha and Liam sign up for an open mic night with 32 available slots that are filled at random. What's the probability that Taisha will perform first and Liam will perform second? So we are finding a actual probability here. So to do this, there's 3 steps. So we want to find the total possible outcomes of the 32 available slots. So that's that 32 factorial. Okay, so step 2, find the number of favorable outcomes. The number of favorable outcomes is the number of permutations of the other performers' order, given that Taisha performs first and Liam performs second. So the permutation then would be, since they would perform first and second, well, those are the first 2 spots, right? So then we're left with 30. So to calculate the probability, you want the number of total possible outcomes on the bottom of the fraction and the number of favorable outcomes on the top. So what you're going to do in your calculator is type 30 over 32. Then you're going to need to go into that probability menu and make sure after each of those that you put in a factorial, okay? Once you do that, it is going to calculate this fraction for you, 1 over 992. So if you change that to a decimal, you are going to get 0.001. As a percent, you would move this over 2 spots, so it would be 0.01%. Okay, so that's the probability that Taisha will perform first and Liam will perform second, which is a very low probability here. Okay, so we are going to do this check really quick. So pause it, see how you can do. And I even put some hints off to the sides. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and go through and get this done. So to do this one, we have to find the total possible outcomes. Well, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 shapes here. Okay, so there are 5 possible outcomes. So remember, when we're setting up this fraction, I want the number of possible outcomes on the bottom. So we have a 5 factorial on the bottom. That's the number of possible outcomes. I'm pulling that from here. All right, so I'm looking here, and it looks like these directions are incorrect because the triangle is being chosen first and the quadrilateral is second. So here they have 2 choices. So they did 5 minus 2. Okay, we have 3 choices on our example here. So what we're going to have to do is take the total number of possible outcomes minus the 3 shapes that we're choosing, and you're going to get a 2 factorial. Okay, so on top you have a 2 factorial. So if you put this in your calculator and work this out, so I'm putting 2 over 5, and then I'm doing probability and adding that factorial, you get 1 over 60. Okay, which, if we want to express it as a percentage because it's a probability, is going to be 1.67% rounded. Okay, so remember, we have the number of favorable outcomes over the number of possible outcomes. So the favorable outcomes is pretty much what is left after they choose. So they said they're choosing 3 shapes. Well, out of the 5, there's only 2 left. So that's what's on top, and then the 5 factorial is on the bottom. So that's how you can find the percentages. Okay, moving on. Example 2, probabilities and permutations with no repetition. For a project, Rami selects 12 family photographs that will randomly play in a slideshow. The slideshow will not show repeat photos until all 12 photos have been shown. 3 photos are of Rami's entire family, 2 photos are of his brother. 3 photos are just of him, and 4 photos are of his sister. What's the probability that the first 4 photos in the slideshow will be Rami's sister? Okay, so first 4 will be Rami's sister. Okay, so they're taking 12 photos total. Okay, so we have the 12. Then we're picking 4. So we want to find the number of possible outcomes here. So we're going to type that in the calculator. So you're going to do 12, and then you're going to hit NPR in the probability menu, and then 4. And that's going to give you, let's do this really quick, 11,880 possible outcomes here. So we want to find the number of favorable outcomes here. So the number of favorable outcomes is the number of permutations of the blank photo of Rami's sister. So how many photos are there of Rami's sister? 4. Okay. So the probability of the 4 photos of Rami's sister appearing as the first 4 in the slideshow would be 4 factorial over the number that we calculated. So we got the 4 factorial. So that's the favorable outcomes over the possible outcomes that we have. Okay. And then that's going to get us, gosh, if we do that, let's type that in. Okay. So 4, and then I'm going probability to hit the factorial, and then 11880. And that's going to be 1 over 495, which would be, as a percentage, it would be 0.02%. Okay? So 0.02%. That is how you would calculate the probability. All right, and that is your notes. So if you need to pause, rewind, go over this at any point, you can. There are also some great videos down below to watch if you feel like you are still kind of confused on this. I do want to help you set up some of these examples here. So let's see, what do we want to do? All right, so I'm going to help you set up number 6 here. So it looks like we have a store that randomly assigns their employees work identification numbers to track productivity. Each number contains 5 digits ranging from 1 to 9. So if the numbers cannot repeat, find the probability that a random generated number is 25938 for the employee number. Okay, so we have a possibility of, so the total number of digits that we have are 9. Okay, so 9, and then we're picking 5 digits. Okay, so we want to pick any 5 digits. So 9P and then 5. So in your calculator, you do the NPR 9P5. Once you do that, you'll get your answer. Okay, this is your total number of outcomes. Okay, total number of possible outcomes here. Now remember, you want to take the number of favorable outcomes over the total. Okay, so the favorable outcomes here, I have 1 specific employee number. So there is 1 favorable outcome. So it is going to be 1 over whatever you got for the 9P5. Okay, because there's 9 digits, you're picking 5. So that's how you would find that probability for number 6. And the other 2 go with example 1. So let's see, what's the probability? So just remember that it's going to be your favorable over your total possible combinations, okay? Watch the videos if you need more help with that, and I hope to see you tomorrow. Bye.